Good evening, and today it brings me no pleasure to report that today at a campus at Utah Valley University, today the president, founder, and CEO of Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk, was shot dead by actually, we don't even know who we don't even have a suspect. He fled. According to reports, the suspect was dressed fully in black, kind of dipped in and dipped out. Um, he was obviously very far away, and footage was very widely spread of the incident. And of course, if you are unfamiliar, Charlie Kirk is a conservative leader. He is the founder of Turning Point USA, which is a student run, led by Charlie Kirk, student organization where they travel all across the country to different campuses, in different states all around America. Basically just sharing the conservative views, conservative values, and basically empowering students who think differently, who think that maybe their people in their classrooms don't necessarily share their beliefs. It empowers them to speak out and to not be silent. And as I said before, they share this message all across the country, predominantly in places in the Midwest, in the West Coast, and they do come to the East Coast. They don't necessarily come to New York for well, today is a pretty good example as to why they wouldn't come to a place like New York. But this is kind of like a breaking news earlier today. However, I waited a few hours to report on this as I still had to collect my thoughts and to make sure that I was calm and that I took it in and that I didn't just speak out of emotion, because we all know that if you speak out of emotion, you can be pretty crazy and you can say some things that you would not say if you let yourself breathe and take it in and accept what has happened. I was not home at the time when I went online and I saw that something happened. It was being reported on Fox. Several huge conservative commentators were giving their input, and at first it was just Charlie was shot. I didn't see a video, I just saw a headline, Charlie Kirk was shot. And so I went online. Unfortunately, I was subject to seeing the video. There are now several angles of it, which I would not recommend seeing. It is quite traumatizing and very horrid. And I was hoping this wasn't true, but it's being reported that his family was there watching it live. And so it's huge thing. And so for about an hour and a half, everyone was kind of scrambling, trying to figure out what's going on. And then on social media, I get a message from my sister sending me a post by Fox News declaring that Charlie Kirk has indeed passed away from his injuries. And I remember I was shocked. However, there was a part of me that understood that this was not an impossibility, as the video was, he was shot directly in his neck around the area, and it seemed very unlikely that he was going to survive. However, of course, as one does, we, everyone, supporters as well as myself, we gave a prayer that he would be okay. But that was only half the prayer. The prayer that I gave, no, everybody has their own testimony, but the prayer that I gave, I know, was I asked God to protect Charlie Kirk. I was hoping that he would be okay. Of course, I didn't know that he wasn't going to be okay. And the second half was praying that God protected his family. He has a wife, Erica Kirk, as well as his 2 kids. And so that was what my prayer looked like, hoping that, he would be okay, as well as his family. His wife, Erica, and he does have 2 kids who will remain anonymous for their safety, especially now. They're very young, and it's heartbreaking that they're not going to have their father anymore. And it's crazy because it was especially that Charlie did have a very special bond with his children. He would take them to pretty much every event that he would be at, which is now unfortunate because they were at this event. And what, after about like an hour and a half or 2 hours, when it was officially declared by not only the Turning Point social media as well as the president that he had passed away from his injuries, it was a bittersweet thing that people from all across the political spectrum, for the most part, were honoring Mr. Kirk and kind of wishing for the protection of his family, as well as the end of this political violence which has been brewing, and it's gotten worse and worse. And we thought that the tipping point would be last year in July when President Trump was shot. We thought that was the tipping point. It couldn't get worse than that. We didn't even imagine that it could get worse than something like that. However, thank God President Trump survived, and then here we are now when they actually killed one of us, in front of everyone. It was not, it was to make a statement. It was clearly to make a statement that people like Charlie, people like us, are not welcome here. And that's pretty crazy considering the fact that only a few days ago a woman was murdered by some guy, I forgot his name, Anthony something, Monte Carlo. I don't my brain doesn't even want to care about that right now, because that was the focal point of us for of what we had for a few days, and all of a sudden I feel like this is so much more. It's crazy what everything has become. And it just blows my mind that people are saying this. I didn't have the heart to check it out. People on TikTok, a bunch of crazy liberals are celebrating it, which that it's some people are just too far gone. And yeah, it happened in Utah, which is it's crazy because Charlie had it's pretty crazy to talk about him in the past tense, because I literally was watching his video 2 days ago. His video, he had another event, not the Utah one, I'm assuming, maybe a previous one. He filmed it. He posted the entire video on YouTube. It was an hour and a half long of him just constantly debating other people, and the same setup, him sitting down and having a whole crowd of his supporters and a line of his people that disagreed with him. And that's cool. He's been doing that for, as he said, 10 years, over 10 years. That's his thing, his shtick. He's super famous. He was even on that show on Comedy Central, South Park. Everybody knows Charlie Kirk, and to think that he was taken out at such a young age is really heartbreaking for many reasons. And I would say one of the big reasons is that he was a voice for so many people. I know so many people in person and online who looked up to him, not just as somebody, a political figure, a commentator, very cool, but no, somebody who inspired people, who were scared to share what they actually believed in, and were scared to stand up for their beliefs, to actually get out there and say what they believed in, and not be scared of other people that are going to judge them, not be scared of other people who are going to try to bully them into submission. Charlie Kirk was the ultimate the perfect example of somebody who didn't cave into pressure and just stood for what he believed in, and never backed down. He didn't back down in anything. If he had a point and you disagreed with him, he would defend himself the entire debate, the entire time. He never backed down. He always had things to back himself up, the good points. And what was so special about Charlie Kirk, in comparison to maybe other political figures on the right or on the left, is that he never looked to one up somebody. His whole career was, okay, I think this, you think that, let's peacefully talk. And as you saw, throughout his entire life, people on the left, on the Democratic side, were always vitriolic towards him. And he never had an ounce of hate in his heart. Never. You look on his Twitter, the only thing posts are Bible verses and saying that he loves his family. And that wasn't good enough. You can't even be nice with these people anymore. You have to be... what do they want us to do? We're the ones that, we're Republicans. We're the pro-Second Amendment. Do you want us to retaliate? I mean, we can if we wanted to, but we choose to be peaceful. The entire time. And Charlie Kirk was the ultimate sign of peace. And they took him out. And like, I wanted to make sure that I understood what went on, because I was kind of in denial for a few hours, thinking, no, there's no way they would do this. They wouldn't scoop this low. They wouldn't do that, but they did. And I can only imagine what the domino effect of this action will be. But I know that people who were once scared to speak out will now openly speak out. And if I were to encourage you to do anything, it'd be, don't be scared of what other people are going to tell you. Don't be scared of what people might think of you because you think a certain way. Because guess what? You're normal. You're the one with reasonable thinking. You're the one with common sense. They're not the ones who can defend themselves when you ask them something. They're the ones who get triggered when you call somebody a name. They're the ones who think that these radical opinions are real life when everyone knows it's not. And even if you're like in a bubble and you're like surrounded by people who make you think that you're the wrong one, if they can't back themselves up, which many times they cannot, then they'll never understand. And it's funny because people like that on the left, they will surround themselves with people that think like themselves only. You know why? Because they cannot fathom the idea of somebody questioning their beliefs and making them defend what they believe in, because they cannot. That's why when somebody walks in that circle and says, hey, I don't think this is true, I think this is true, they will try to kick you out because they know that they cannot defend themselves. And so they change reality. Certain definitions of words, they change it because they no longer, it doesn't fit anymore. If this word means this, and they know that, they say, oh, we can't win this argument, so let's just change the definition of the word. And you know that, and I know that, and we see that all the time. We see that constantly in every single debate. They change the definition of the words. They say, oh, this is not true. Everything is a binary. Everything is fluid. Everything is a spectrum. That's like their favorite word. And it's funny because I saw somebody, I'm in a political science group chat for my school, and I saw people actually defending the murder of Charlie Kirk. You know what they said? I kid you not. They were saying, oh, it's unfortunate that Charlie Kirk, that he died, but it's a good thing because, in a positive way, at least people will start to notice that gun violence is bad. And I'm like, and this is why it took so long to make this video, because I didn't want to lash out at anyone. And that it was a woman who put that in the group chat of my political science group at school. She said that, and my first response, my thought was to be to say something very vitriolic. But then you remember that is not what somebody like Charlie Kirk told us to do. If you've ever seen his videos, you know what he told us to do? It's just sit, think of what they said, and think of a response. Don't just lash out. Charlie never did that. Charlie always kept his cool. He's human. Maybe once or twice there's a video of him lashing out at somebody, like Cenk Uygur. But most of the time, he was calm. He was put together, he thought of what to say, and he got them. And that skill is what made him one of the best debaters in the country. And I saw this tweet saying that they couldn't debate him, so they took him out. And it's true, because Charlie Kirk never really got defeated in a debate. He would always win, and that was too much for them. They couldn't handle it, which, yeah. And it's very interesting that it would happen today. It seems so out of the blue. Charlie Kirk has so many events like this, and things like these never happened. The biggest violence we saw in these were, like radical leftists coming to the tables where Charlie held events and knocking them down and hitting them and throwing water at them. We thought that was the ultimate, crime they were going to do. But to actually take him out is just terrible. And to think that he was close friends with everybody, in conservative media, everybody gave their condolences. And I just hope that everyone, people need to up their security. And it's really sad because these events where, people in any that want to preach anything go to a campus, they're not going to be able to do this anymore. Have these events outdoors And it's crazy because Charlie Kirk didn't used to do these events outdoors. He used to do them in school, but in like an auditorium in the school. But he moved to doing it outdoors because there were not enough seats in the auditoriums to hold these events. So many people, supporters of Charlie Kirk, would show up that the school would tell Charlie, look, we have, like, let's say there's an auditorium with 400 seats. They would say, we have 500 people wanting to get tickets. How are we going to hold it inside? So Charlie Kirk moved these events outside to have, in some cases, thousands of supporters there, to have these open discussion debates where Charlie Kirk's main focus was to speak with people who disagreed with him, to get them to either understand both positions or change their mind, or maybe even, have, it's an agree to disagree or whatnot. And the left ruined that. And I think it's important to point out that this is no longer a, both sides are cool, but, or both sides are bad. It's very obvious that there's one party who chooses peace, who is actually pro Second Amendment, never causes shootings or anything. And then there's the left, the Democrats, who, the only thing I could say is it does seem that this whole thing is, liberalism. It's really like a mental disease, a mental illness. When people get politics so ingrained in their skull and they become obsessed with it that it makes them go crazy. To do something like this in front of so many people, in front of his family, and to think that he got away. Like, that person got away. That, blows my mind that person got away. And I don't know what the security is like at these events, but, how could this happen? It just blows my mind, because I know a lot of, conservative commentators, I'm not going to name names, but a lot of them, put their faith in God, and that's great, of course, but, I think security should not be slept on. It sounds bad, but things like this wouldn't happen if we had better security, yeah, and it was, I have to say that as an aftermath, it was pretty heartwarming to see the outward support of people from all different walks of life supporting and, giving their thoughts and prayers to the Kirk family. People that I knew, people on social media, it really broke my heart. People that personally knew Charlie. I knew Charlie from what he posts online and his events. It was like a parasocial relationship. But people that actually knew him, I saw earlier today Megyn Kelly break down during a live. People like Ben Shapiro, Michael Knowles. Candace hasn't, understandably hasn't had an episode today. Whenever she's ready, she will go back on. But, it's just that, you grow up thinking that there's the Republicans and Democrats, the left and the right, and they disagree and they debate over it. But you don't grow up thinking that they kill people. They kill each other over it. But the people growing up today are going to think that. And it's so sad because that's only from one side. It's the Democrats who call the other side horrible names, who call for the death of them. There's people on TikTok every day celebrating and waiting for the president to pass away, waiting to celebrate. And they think they're the good ones. They think that their actions are making them good people, and their desires for the harm of others are making them good people. In fact, today when Mike Johnson, I believe, was giving an address for, in honor of Charlie Kirk in the House of Representatives, they wanted to give a moment of silence. And I believe Lauren Boebert asked for, a prayer for Charlie Kirk. And during the moment of silence, the Democrats did not respect that. And they were rioting and screaming. Really? Is that really what it's come to? Because you know me, you know me. I'm friends with Democrats. I'm friends with independents. I'm friends with libertarians. I'm friends with Republicans. But at this point, the Democrats look real bad. I mean, they lost like crazy in the last election. And I hope that people wake up. And it's so sad that it takes something like this, but people to wake up that the Democrats are evil. They're evil. And I'm sick of avoiding it and being like, maybe they'll learn, maybe they'll grow up. But no, because the Democrats that are good, they leave the Democrats. They become independents. They become Republicans. But the ones that say, oh, they're far gone. And it's funny, a lot of like left-leaning influencers are like, oh, this is horrible. And I guess it's horrible. But I know damn well that tomorrow you're going to go back to spewing hate towards us. So they're just doing that for clicks. And it's like disgusting. And it's just the case. And tomorrow I'll see it, and it's probably going to happen. And that's disgusting. But it's just the reality. And I guess the only hope is that you don't lose that spark that you have in you. If you're watching this and you're young, or any age, but my audience, I want to reach young people. I want to be able to tell young people, either my age, younger than me, even a little older, that you don't have to be silent. You don't have to let peer pressure silence you. And you can just speak what you want. If you believe in something, say it. Don't have somebody say something and you in your mind say, I disagree, and just, because you're scared of what people are going to say, just stay silent. Don't do that. Say it. Say it. Because you hear them out and you don't do anything, so they should be able to hear you out and not do anything. And I know now it's probably scary to do that, but don't be scared, because if you don't put your trust and your faith in yourself, put it in God. And just know that. Oh gosh, I put this up on Instagram, like a different word, like different wording. I put this up on Instagram because it references one of my favorite tweets by Charlie Kirk, and he tweeted this during the election. He tweeted it, and I remember I saw it, and I retweeted it right away because I thought it was such a powerful message. It read, so this happened during the election, like as the votes were being counted, the night of the election. Charlie Kirk tweeted, our staff, I'm gonna paraphrase it a little bit, but I'll put it up here. Charlie Kirk tweeted, our staff prayed for all you patriots today. Thank you for believing in something greater than yourself, and may God bless you always. And I remember that tweet really struck a chord with me, because at the time everything was so polarizing, but to have somebody like Charlie being like, hey, don't give up, wear that hat, wear that red hat outside, even if you get hated on for it. I think people reach the point where they couldn't care less what people think about them, no matter where you are. Because trust me, in New York it's like crazy, but you can't let go of what you believe in. Even if you're one person and there's 5 people that disagree with you in that room, you still gotta hold your ground, because you holding your ground will inspire someone else who's quiet to hold their ground, and that will inspire someone else to hold their ground, and before you know it, you'll have 5 close people close to you that you'll have like your own little army. And I've seen it firsthand. People after the election message me being like, hey, thank you for saying this, thank you for sharing this, thank you for not being scared. People that I would have never imagined thought similarly to myself. I never would have imagined people from so many different walks of life coming together, some silent, some outspoken, but all believing the same thing. And that's a beautiful thing, to find almost brotherhood in people who think like-minded to you. But of course, it's always important to speak and be civil with people who disagree with you, because you want to get to know why they think the way they do. And that seemed to have been the case for so long, but now it seems that it's no longer civil, but the Democrats turn violent. TPSA, the organization, announced right after the news that they were going to suspend all future events, and any employees, they're going to go home until, I believe, Monday. And I don't know what they're going to do next. Charlie was like their beacon, their leader. I don't know who could take on the mantle of what he started, but I think that's not the answer. I don't think we're waiting for one person to take on Charlie's mantle. I think the answer is that all of us, all of you, have to take up that mantle. And I think that's what we have to do. No longer just sit here, on Twitter or on YouTube and just like say something, but go to the real world, because we know the internet is not real. Go to the real world. Tell somebody that that is maybe considering something, thinking differently, but doesn't really know what to do. Talk to them, see what they're going for, and try to tell them what you believe, and there's a chance that they might agree. And that's the goal, to spread the word. And yeah, it's pretty incredible. It's so shocking how fast things can change. As I was heading home earlier today, I'm gonna go home. I actually asked my little sister to begin charging my camera batteries so that they could be ready by the time I get home. So I was rushing home, and the only thought in my head was, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna make a video right away being like, Charlie Kirk was shot, let's pray for him, or prayers for Charlie Kirk. And by the time I got home, he was gone. What Kirk did was very inspirational to so many people, and I think it would. I don't think Charlie would want us to let the movement go. Turning Point, the conservative, everything. He wouldn't want us to just give up because because he passed away. He knew, and he said many times, that this movement was bigger than ourselves. It was bigger than him. And so now that he's gone, we cannot let it go to waste. All the effort that he put, he would not want it to end with him. It's never going to end. It's going to get bigger. I promise you that. So if you know somebody that you disagree with, talk to them. Get to know why they think that. And maybe if you're lucky, you can change their mind. But don't let somebody think that you think something that you don't. If you believe something, say it. Don't be afraid. It's pretty crazy to think about the reach that Charlie Kirk had. I have cousins who are like, now they're like 15, but since they were like 13, they were watching Charlie Kirk, because he would just had that energy that attracted so many young people to be like, hey, he's cool, let me watch him. And I know somebody else who's like 16 who's also a huge fan, and I didn't do that. They just found Charlie. Charlie would reach them, through social media and through his platforms. He really represented something so special to young people and people like myself and to people all around the country. Around the world, really. Turning Point is in multiple countries, I believe. At least in the UK as well. And I don't quite know where to go, but I know that this is not the end, and it's only beginning, and we will come back harder and stronger. And let this be your fuel to not be shy, because I know I was shy for so many years. I'd be like should I say something? But no, because people like leave you a bad message, a bad comment, they block you or whatnot. I don't care. I've personally been threatened so many times, online, on Twitter, on Reddit, like people personally threatening to come at me. But you can't let that stop you, because remember what Charlie said, is that what we're fighting for, our beliefs, is so much bigger than ourselves. And so, if you've made it this far, I just want to thank you for watching this video. And I want to thank my friends and my family who've come to console me, because they know that, of course, is what affected me. And this is going to be the first video that I publish on several places that I haven't published it on, and share that I do share my opinions, and I'm a little scared, but I know that this is for the greater good, and that people will hopefully have their eyes open. And I mean, it's happening. I've seen many people online being like, hey, I was an independent for years, but after today I'm a registered Republican. And I think that's so good, so great. It's so incredible that this is my final point. It's so incredible that Charlie Kirk, who's only 31, has accomplished so much in his life. Like, in some ways, I want to just make a celebration of Charlie Kirk for all he's accomplished in 31 years. There's some people at 31 who are just starting out what they want to do, just starting out, their venture into, whatever they want to do, a company, a nonprofit, a career. They're just starting. And Charlie Kirk was, a decade into his career. There could have been a lot more, but it was cut short. But he did start Turning Point when he was 18, fresh out of high school, which should inspire each and every one of you. Of course, I have this here. He wrote many books, and this one particularly touched me. I guess this is his last book that's been released, and the last one he'll ever release. But it's this one. Charlie Kirk, Right Wing Revolution, How to Beat the Woke and Save the West. A great book. So far, I haven't had the pleasure of finishing it, but very well, now I will. And it's not in frame, but the good old MAGA hat. Sometimes you're scared to wear, but not anymore. You have to be strong. And this is definitely not going to be the only video I make of Charlie Kirk. I definitely want to talk about it more when more news comes out. And oh boy, I do pray that the victim, or not the victim, the suspect, when that person is found, you better pray that he has, some balls of steel, because we're going to come for him. And he's going to get hit hard. Because conservatives are not playing anymore. We're playing nice, good old nice Tom for so long. But this is just, it's going to get bigger. It's going to get stronger. You're not going to be able to stop us, Democrats. Newsom, you thought you were going to win? After today, we hate the Democrats. It used to be, we dislike them, we disagree with them. But now, no, we don't like y'all. You're not welcome here. We can converse, but you're probably not going to want to, because I'll beat you in the debate. That's what I've been doing. Don't be scared. If you're young, don't be scared. I still don't have the strength to do it, but when I do, definitely gonna watch his videos and his old videos and get some of that inspiration back. I guess he wouldn't want this movement to die. And this movement will not die. It will get bigger and stronger. Let's go. Let's just do this. Let's get that hat. Screw all the haters. This beautiful hat that Charlie Kirk wore unashamedly all the time. If you're watching this, I recommend you wear it tomorrow. If you can, every day. Go for it. And if somebody tries to mess with you, let them see what they can do. We know liberals are weak. That's just the truth. Let me just put this on because, yeah. I still can't believe he's gone. I'm glad I waited till after I, had time to think and time to, be emotional about it. I'm glad I'm more put together now because I feared that I wouldn't have been able to get the points I wanted to talk about. But, I appreciate all of you for watching, and remember to fight on, and don't let this or anything that might happen in the future, God forbid, deter you. Fight on. Fight on. And the last thing I could say is, keep Charlie and keep Charlie's family in your prayers. And pray for this country. And may God bless each and every single one of you.